This year I'm going to play one JRPG every month, and by the end of the year I'll rate them from 1 to 12. Last time we took a look at the highly anticipated Final Fantasy VII Remake. This month we're jumping into something a bit more traditional. Hi everyone, my name is Adzi, and welcome to my critique of Ni No Kuni Wrath of the White Witch. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now, on to the video. I'm going to spoil the game, so be warned. From the get-go, you think you're in for a kiddie story, following a boy called Oliver. But you soon realise that it's quite the opposite, and it's not afraid to deal with some mature themes. In the first few hours, Oliver's mom dies while saving him from drowning. Quite serious stuff, and Oliver naturally falls into a deep depression and is at a loss of what to do. Eventually, his childhood toy comes to life, and we're introduced to the best character in the game, Mr. Drippy.
Whoa, what's all this? Curse lifted, is it? Tiny! I'm free!
With a Welsh accent and a great sense of humour, he made the adventure so much fun. The story mainly focuses on the heart. Many of the characters have been broken-hearted, and it's Oliver's job to fulfill the prophecy by fixing everyone's heart and saving the world from the dark djinn Shadar. In order to do this, he needs to find the great sages to help him become a powerful wizard. From here, you visit loads of cool locations, helping the town, then moving on to the next. Before moving on, I have to explain that every person in the mystical land has a counterpart in Oliver's world. So for instance, this little rat fecker is Oliver's best mate back in Motorville. Another really important part of the story is this little girl P. Only Oliver can see her, and she seems to show up at the right moments to steer him in the direction that he needs to go. The commentary on mental health and the theme of escapism runs so deeply in this game, but more on that later. Now with the story out of the way, we'll talk about the presentation. I think we can all agree that the visuals of the game are phenomenal. Everything about it just works. Vibrant colours, great character designs that feel all at home in the world, slick and simple menus with no bullshit, and let's not forget the soundtrack. The overworld theme feels epic. And the ending theme, playing as Oliver leaves his friends, just fits so perfectly. Studio Ghibli lending their hand to the game makes it even more special. These cutscenes are some of the best I have ever seen in a game. My only issue is that they're very few and far between. Now I know they take ages to make and would have been crazy expensive, but I would have loved to see more of them. My main gripe with the presentation is the voice acting. We have some fantastic work done here, like Mr. Drippy and the rulers of the Three Kingdoms. Now, let's sidestep here. I present to you my Mr. Drippy appreciation post. This man, fairy, whatever you want to call him, is one of my favourite characters I've ever come across in the game. He's Oliver's childhood teddy, something that is very near and dear to my own heart, because I have a Winnie the Pooh teddy that I've had since I was 6. He acts as his guardian angel and helps him immensely on his journey. He's not afraid to tell it straight to Oliver, and his constant slagging of him is hilarious.
You were snivelling and moaning, a proper crybaby bunting you are. 3 days, man. I mean, I've been sad before, but crying for 3 whole days? I'm surprised there's a drop of water left in you.
And all of this is said with a thick Welsh accent, something you just don't see in games really. But while Mr. Drippy's voice acting is great, Oliver's voice acting is, well, like, is he English or is he American? I played the game for 40 hours and I couldn't tell you.
Who are you? My name's Oliver. Don't worry, I'm not crazy. I'm a kid from right here in Motorville, just like you.
I think he is supposed to be English, but an American twang comes out every now and again. I can find very little about his voice actor, so I'm not even sure where he's from. Either way, it's weird that the main character's voice keeps changing. The other characters were fine, and some I would even say great. The combat is Pokemon-esque. You capture these familiars and use them in battle. Each party member can have 3 each, so you have quite a bit to choose from. It's a turn-based system, but in real time. Each familiar has elemental strengths and weaknesses, so some are more useful for certain parts of the game. The first one you get, I decided to call him Keith, is so fecking dopey. The other designs are really cool too. Some are cute, some are funny, and others are just badass looking. We can't forget some of the familiar names. We have things like Turban Myth and Tyke Mycin to name a few. Like, I just love Japan when they do stuff like this. In Pokemon, I never give my party nicknames, but the randomly generated nicknames in this game were just too funny. Combat seems to be what people dislike the most about the game. I felt there is enough depth here to keep me interested right until the end. Each familiar has plenty of different skills to choose from, some spec for tanking damage, others for healing, you get the picture. While I can see people getting bored of this, I enjoyed it for my time with the game. Now there are 2 things about the combat that I dislike. So this game's version of evolving is metamorphosizing, whatever you want to call it, When your familiar is the right level, you give them a little gem and they evolve. The only problem is that it puts them back to level 1. Now, near the end, I just gave up evolving because all my familiars were around level 50, so it would have taken me ages to get them back up to the level of my other familiars. It seriously kills the pacing of the game, and I've no clue why they did it. The final thing about the combat are the bosses. At first I was getting my arse handed to me by the bosses because I was just attacking and not defending. Eventually I learned the winning strategy for bosses, and they became a bit of a slog. Just attack, wait till they use an ability, defend, heal, rinse and repeat. There was little to no diversion once I figured the strategy out, so they became a bit samey. However, the boss designs were really cool. This is where I spoil the story completely, so if you want to click off, click off. You've been warned. Near the end, we find out how big a role time travel plays in this game. Turns out one of the great sages is Oliver's mam's counterpart in the mystical world. But then you find out that Oliver's mam actually went to Oliver's world from the mystical world to raise him as a normal boy, and that she didn't have a counterpart in Motorville. Now, this is all very confusing to someone who hasn't played it, and I think I understand it, but I hope I did a good job of explaining it. I could be completely wrong, but... And I think Shadar is Oliver's future self who turned evil. I could be wrong again, so let me know in the comments. Once we defeat Shadar, we celebrate with the 3 kingdoms and everything is hunky-dory. Oliver wants to go back to his world, and this part is really sad. I'd be lying if there wasn't a tear in my eye. The bromance that was built between Mr. Drippy and Oliver comes to a head here, and seeing the lantern-nosed fairy crying as Oliver is about to leave really gets to me.
So it's the end of our double act, is it? You made one heck of a sidekick, Ollie boy.
When you get home, you'll look out for Myrtle, won't you?
Hey, come back and visit you here. We'll go somewhere dangerous, for old time's sake.
You got it. Thank you, everybody.
Be good, Oliver.
Now, the game pulls a fast one on you and has a false ending. This ending would have been satisfactory to me, and I do actually prefer the false ending to the real ending. Now, the game is called The Wrath of the White Witch, and she was present in the cutscenes up to now, but obviously we had to fight her at some stage. So all this time, the witch character was pulling the strings, and she turns everyone into zombies, and then we have to go save the 3 kingdoms again, pull together for one last showdown against the White Witch. The boss fight itself was pretty cool, but was the same strategy as all the rest. We find out that the White Witch is actually P. I'm still a bit confused on this. So P was the ruler of a kingdom called Cassiopeia when she was really young because her father died. And she had a council working for her that made all the decisions. And eventually she became really lonely because all of her subjects left, and that's when she became the White Witch. So I think young P was born to help the White Witch become herself again. I think. It's a bit confusing, but I think I have that right. So as I said, it doesn't shy away from adult themes. The game to me seems to be a commentary on mental health. Plenty of characters are suffering from one thing or the other. Some lack enthusiasm, others lack ambitions. There's loads of different emotions that you have to put back into their heart. All of which were caused by the person who needed help the most. The White Witch was so lonely that she wanted the rest of the world to crash and burn. It's a really poignant message. The people who lash out at others are probably going through something tough. Her loneliness is even manifested by her creating her little sidekick bird and the council, and it turns out they were all a figment of her imagination. The theme of escapism links in perfectly with this. Ni No Kuni literally translates to the second country. After experiencing the death of his mom, Oliver wants to get out of Motorville, so he goes to a new world. With all that said and done, Ni No Kuni Wrath of the White Witch is a phenomenal game. I love when games take you by surprise. I was expecting some epic adventure with a group of friends who tried to save the world, and while I did get that, this game is so much more. I was not expecting it to evoke so much emotion. Stories are at their best when they do this, and I would highly recommend this game. After 5 months of this challenge, it's hard to say if I prefer this game or Final Fantasy VII Remake. I'm honestly loving this so far, so let me know what games I play in the future. The next game I'm going to play is Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition on the Switch, so stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for watching, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you all on the next video.